The early morning sunlight cascaded over the sleek exterior of Willowbrook Cafe, a familiar place where the scent of fresh bread and hot coffee was usually enough to make anyone feel at ease. But today, the warmth of the morning couldn't shake the coldness that seeped into the hearts of a few misguided youths. At a table near the window sat Lily, a young woman in a wheelchair, her plate of pancakes sitting untouched before her. The delicate balance of the meal served as her last defense against the world. Her name was Lily, and while her face showed the quiet fortitude of someone who had faced more than her share of challenges, her unsteady hands betrayed her discomfort. At the next table over, a group of boys were openly mocking her, their laughter loud and obnoxious. They didn't just laugh, they crossed a line. One of them knocked the plate from her lap, sending her food crashing to the floor. Another shoved her chair backward with a sneer. The cafe fell silent, the sound of their laughter echoing like thunder, drowning out everything else. Lily's eyes shimmered with tears. She fought to hold them back, but the sting of humiliation was sharper than any physical pain. She had always believed that kindness could overcome cruelty, that everyone deserved respect, but today, that belief seemed more fragile than ever. If you believe that kindness should always overcome hate and that every person deserves a chance to be treated with dignity, take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Heartfelt Moments. Together, we can remind the world that compassion has the power to heal. Lily had never had an easy life. Born with a condition that left her dependent on a wheelchair, she had learned early on to navigate a world that often seemed unkind. Her parents had always told her that her heart and spirit would carry her further than her legs ever could, and despite everything, she held on to that truth. But the events of that morning in the cafe, the taunting, the cruelty, had shattered something deep within her. As the boys continued their mocking, a few patrons at the cafe cast disapproving glances, but no one intervened. The waitress, tray in hand, stopped in her tracks, fear flickering across her face. Lily's hands shook as she tried to collect the scattered pancakes, desperate not to draw more attention. But then, a hand reached down, not rough, not cruel, but kind and steady. An older man, his hair touched with grey, gently lifted the plate and placed it back in front of her. "Don't mind them," he whispered, his gaze flicking nervously toward the group of teens. His small act of kindness was like a lone flame in a room full of shadows, but Lily still felt exposed, broken, as though the world had just proven her worst fears true. She sat quietly, her appetite lost, and her throat tight with unsaid words. She wanted to ask why people felt it was acceptable to hurt others simply because they were different. Her heart thudded heavily in her chest, each cruel laugh from the boys hammering at her spirit. She closed her eyes and wished for the moment to pass, for the nightmare to end. An hour later, something unexpected happened, something that changed the entire atmosphere of the cafe. The rumbling of engines reached the diner from outside. Heads turned toward the large windows as the sound grew louder. A group of motorcycles rolled into the parking lot, their chrome shining in the sunlight. The unmistakable insignia of the Iron Vanguards was emblazoned on their jackets as they parked in a perfect line. The roar of their engines filled the room, and suddenly, the arrogant teens shifted uneasily. Everyone knew the reputation of the Iron Vanguards, fierce, unyielding, and known for standing up for the vulnerable. The door to the cafe swung open, and a wave of silence followed. A man, towering and broad-shouldered, entered first. His beard was thick, and his eyes were sharp, scanning the room. Behind him, more men followed, their presence almost too heavy for the space. Lily's heart raced, both frightened and mesmerized by their sheer presence. The leader of the group, whose name was Jackson, met the eyes of the Bullies. His gaze was like steel, cold and unwavering. But when his eyes landed on Lily, something shifted. He knelt beside her, his voice low but filled with authority and care. For the first time that day, Lily felt a sense of safety. She wasn't alone. Jackson turned to the Bullies, his gaze hardening. Their confident smirks faltered. The room held its breath as their bravado slipped away. One by one they slunk out of the booth, their heads hung in shame, not daring to look anyone in the eye, let alone Lily's. Outside, the motorcycles formed a line of steel, ensuring the boys would not forget the lesson in humility. But Jackson didn't stop there. He called over the waitress, handed her a generous tip, and told her to bring Lily whatever she wanted. Pancakes, milkshakes, pie, anything she desired. "You are stronger than they will ever be," he said with conviction. Then, in a moment no one in that cafe would forget, Jackson took off his leather vest and draped it over Lily's shoulders. "You're family now," he said softly. Lily's eyes filled with tears. not of shame, but of gratitude. In that single moment, everything had changed. What started as a morning of pain became a turning point in her life. She realized that kindness could come from the most unexpected places, and sometimes the most intimidating people held the biggest hearts. The cafe patrons, moved by the scene, began clapping softly, some wiping tears from their eyes. The waitress embraced Lily, promising her she would never again feel invisible in this space. For the first time in what felt like forever, Lily felt hope surge within her. She had been shown that courage could rise even in the face of cruelty, and that sometimes strangers could rewrite the stories we thought were already written. If this story has touched your heart and reminded you that kindness can rise even in the most unlikely of places, please take a moment to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to Heartfelt Moments. Your support helps us continue spreading stories that inspire and heal. Before we go, one last request. Comment below what you would have done if you were there that day. Would you have stood up for Lily? Your words might inspire someone else to act when it counts.